The distress signal had been repeating for 17 days. Out here, on the far edge of map space, that usually meant one thing. Too late. Captain Elias Rourke stared at the blinking indicator on his console, its steady pulse cutting through the quiet hum of his ship. Still broadcasting, he muttered. His onboard AI responded instantly. Affirmative. Signal integrity degraded but consistent. Origin. Unregistered planetary body. No known settlements recorded. Elias leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. Unregistered planet. Unknown signal. No official claim, which meant no one was coming. No one except him. The man who didn't turn away. Elias wasn't a hero. Not anymore. He had been once decorated pilot, fleet commander, the kind of man who ran toward danger because that's what was expected. But that was before. Before the mission that went wrong. Before the silence that followed. Before he chose the outer routes where no one asked questions. Plot a course, he said quietly. Confirmed. The ship adjusted its trajectory. Elias glanced at the signal again. Let's see who's still hoping someone answers. The world that wasn't supposed to exist. The planet came into view slowly. At first, it looked dead.
Gray.
Fractured. A surface scarred by something catastrophic. Impact. War or something worse. But as the ship descended, Elias noticed something else. Energy signatures.
Faint. Scattered.
But real. Life signs, he asked.
Minimal.
4 distinct biological readings detected.
4.
That was all. The landing. The ship touched down near the source of the signal, its engines kicking up dust that hadn't been disturbed in who knew how long. Elias stepped out, scanning the horizon. Silence. Total silence. No wind. No movement. Just ruin stretching in every direction. Stay alert, he muttered to himself. The first encounter. He found them in what used to be a structure, collapsed walls, exposed framework, barely enough shelter to keep out the harsh environment. 4 figures, huddled together, watching him. They didn't attack, didn't run, didn't even speak at first. They just stared. The ones left behind. They were unlike any species Elias had seen. Humanoid, yes, but different. Their features softer, their movements cautious, their eyes filled with something he recognized instantly.
Fear.
And hope. You came, one of them said. Her voice was quiet, almost disbelieving. Elias nodded slowly. Yeah, he said. I heard the signal. Another stepped forward. You are human. Last time I checked. They exchanged glances. Then you can help us. The truth of what happened. It didn't take long to understand. Their world had been attacked. Not by natural disaster. Not by accident. By something deliberate. They took everything, one of them said. Our cities. Our people.
Who?
Elias asked. They hesitated. Then, the Karen Collective. Elias went still. He had heard of them. Everyone had. A force that didn't conquer. Didn't negotiate. Just erased. Why they were still alive. Why you? Elias asked. Why were you left behind? Silence. Then, we were not worth taking. The words hit harder than anything else. Middle, the choice to stay. Elias should have left. That was the logical decision. For survivors. No resources. A destroyed world. And an enemy that didn't leave loose ends. But logic had never been his strongest trait.
The plea.
Take us with you, one of them said. Another stepped forward. Please. Elias looked at them. At the exhaustion in their posture. The desperation in their eyes. I can't promise anything, he said. That is enough, the first replied. Learning their names. They told him their names that night.
Era. Line. Syrah. Vale.
For survivors of a world that no longer existed. The problem? His ship wasn't built for passengers. It barely supported him. Supplies were limited. Fuel was calculated. Everything was tight. "We will not be a burden," Era said. Elias sighed. "That's not how space works." The threat returns. The warning came too late. "Unidentified vessels entering orbit," the AI announced. Elias cursed under his breath. Of course they are. The enemy arrives. Karen ships. Silent, black, and unmistakable. "They came back," Line whispered. Elias looked at the sky, then at them. "Get to the ship," he said. The decision to fight. He could have left, could have taken off and escaped before they locked onto him. But he didn't. "Stay inside," he told them. "What are you doing?"
Sarah asked.
"Buying time." The battle. Elias moved like he used to.
Fast.
Precise. Focused. The old instincts came back. The ones he thought he had buried. Turrets activated. Shields flared. The ship roared to life. And for the first time in a long time, he wasn't running. The turning point. Outnumbered. Outgunned. Outmatched. But not alone. "Elias," Era's voice came through the calm. "We can help." He hesitated. Then,
How?
their strength. They weren't soldiers. But they weren't helpless either. Their species had been advanced. Highly advanced. "We understand their systems," Vale said. "We can disrupt them." Elias grinned. "Then let's make this interesting." Fighting together. What followed wasn't clean. Wasn't easy. But it worked. They coordinated. Adapted.
Fought.
And slowly, the tide shifted. And not alone anymore. The last Karen ship retreated. Damaged.
Defeated.
Silence returned. Elias leaned back, breathing heavily. "Well," he said, "that was fun." The new reality. He looked at the four of them. Still there. Still alive. "You still want off this rock?" he asked. Era smiled faintly. "Yes." The final choice. Elias looked at his ship. At the stars beyond. At the life he had been living. Then back at them. "All right," he said. "Let's go." Epilogue. A different kind of crew. Weeks later, the ship felt different. Less empty. Less quiet. Elias stood at the helm, watching as the stars stretched into infinity. "You didn't have to come back for us," Line said. He shrugged. "Yeah," he said. "But I did." The meaning of it all. He had spent years alone, avoiding connections, avoiding responsibility.
But now,
He had something else. A crew. A purpose. And for the first time since everything went wrong, Elias Rourke wasn't drifting anymore. Because sometimes, it only takes one decision, one moment, one choice to stay. To remind you that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, no one is truly alone.